Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome to Alicia Budget Beauty. My name is Alicia. Here on my channel, I love all things affordable fashion, beauty, fragrance. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be a friend. All right, you guys, I have my very Morticia Addams look going on here because I have 20 palettes from my collection that are spooky season vibes, Halloween vibes. They are not all a specific spooky release. Some of them are, but it's palettes that when I look at the color story, I think Halloween. So if you want to see what I picked from my collection that has given me spooky season inspiration, to see maybe if you have these in your collection too, maybe you could pull them out, or maybe you're in the market for a new one, keep on watching. Okay, so first up is what is on my eyes today in this very vampy Morticia looking look. Well, it's very, very appropriate that I use the Addams Family palette from Hipdot. Now this was their spooky season released 2 years ago, so I don't think it's available anymore unless you can find it on Mercari, Poshmark, somewhere like that. But you guys, I actually love this palette. It's such a good palette. I actually have the lipstick from the collection on as well. I bought the 3 lipsticks and then the palette. That's all that was part of the collection, I believe. And I think this color story is so perfect. It is perfect for what it is. It is, I think, Addams Family when I look at this, absolutely. And I have every single shade on in some capacity. And I wish that Hipdot would come out with more things like this. Their releases now are very, very strange. Like they'll make CDs where it's a circle, and then it looks like those old school, Flower Beauty did those, and Milani did them years and years ago. Then Hipdot just does the weirdest collaborations, but they got it so right with this one. And I think it's one of the best spooky season color stories that I own. So yeah, I wish that they would do more. So if you happen to have this, I knew no one else that bought this collection 2 years ago when it came out. But if you have it, pull it out. And if not, maybe you can find it secondhand somewhere. Okay, then I decided to include the Lethal Cosmetics Berlin 89 palette. Now, obviously this is not made to be a spooky season palette, but when I open this and you look at this, does that not, this looks like it could so be a Halloween palette with the orange and blue, black, red. So actually what I consider to be spooky season, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that could be a Halloween palette. I'm looking for purples, midnight type of blues, or kind of glowing blues. I look for black, gray, silver, maybe gold, bright yellow, red, orange, and then sometimes a neon green or a murky green. That's what I look at, that and I think spooky or deep and mysterious. And so you basically get all of that in this palette. So if you have this one and you hadn't thought of it for spooky season, definitely pull it out. Next, I have the Luna Magic Uno palette. Now, Luna Magic is a very affordable brand. You can find them at Walmart, Target, CVS, some of them, not all of them, and then on their own site. And this palette is a little bit older. I think it's still available on their site, but you probably won't find it in a store. It was my first palette of theirs. And I really, really love this palette. I think this is such a good one. And if you look at it right here, I'm like, oh, that's some awesome neutrals, very harvest fall looking. But then you have these bright colors here that are kind of more neon. But I think if you combine the two, you can get some fun spooky looks out of this. This is actually a really, really good palette. If you're looking for some neutrals with pops of color, I would recommend this. And it's also very affordable. Then we have now it's Unearthly, but back then it was called something else, but this is the Hauntingly Glamorous palette. This is such a cute palette. It's hard to kind of see the imprints here, but it's little gravestones and then the little ghouly ghosts coming out from here. But I think this is a really cool, unique take on a spooky palette. You know, it's very cool tone, but it's very moody. And I think it has like witchy, vampy vibes to it. So that's also something I look at. Like, it doesn't have to be on the nose Halloween. It can be, does it give you like vampy vibes like I'm wearing right now? And this one definitely does. And I love the cover art of this one. Then we have the Spectra palette from Gourmand Girl. So this is a much older palette. I think this was my first or second, I think it's my second palette I ever got from Gourmand Girls that I paid for myself. I've been on their PR for a couple of years, but back in the day I was buying her palettes, and this one I think would be really fun for Halloween because you have your dark, deeper tones in here, the black, the blue, the red, but then you've got like your neons too. So I think if you own this one and you hadn't thought of it, bust this one out. Also from Gourmand Girls, I have the Radioactive palette. So this is the all special shades palette. And I think this one definitely works to pull out at this time of year with like the purple blue, the green shift, the red in here. I think if you get like some black mattes, some deep gray, black mattes, yes, black mattes, deep grays, even like navy, something like that, deep purple, and then you pop some of these on, you could have a really fun look. Then this was an actual Halloween release from Standing O Cosmetics. It is called the Stage Fright palette, which so clever. She is a professional ballroom dancer that owns this brand, and she basically created makeup that would be visible on stage, so bold lip colors, and then she decided to come out with a Halloween palette last year, and this is what it looks like. And I really enjoy this palette. I do believe it's private label, but I always bring up private label in my videos, and then I want to go off on tangents about them, but I don't think all private label is bad. I think if a brand puts in a lot of work and effort into how they choose their colors, and if it performs well, and if they don't hike up the price like crazy, I'm fine with it. So I believe that's what this is, but I had no problem using these colors and I really enjoy it. I mean, I think this is perfectly fall and spooky season looking. Then this is so cute. This is an itty bitty little LA Colors Hallow Queens palette that they sent over in a whole PR box last year during spooky season. And you guys, I actually enjoy a lot of LA Colors eyeshadows. Now, I had some a while back that I tried that I didn't love as much, but like their little duos that they have at the Dollar Tree perform amazing. I have these all shimmer palettes from them, are all metallics that are gorgeous. So don't skip over, even though it's really cheap. This performed pretty well, and I just thought it was a perfectly curated little like spooky season palette. So definitely will pull this one out coming up. All right, if you saw my video on my top 3 in categories, I had this in my minis, and I mentioned I would probably pull it out for spooky season as well. Oh my goodness. This is the Dark Edit palette from Viseart or Viseart. And I've just always looked at this and seen spooky season. I mean, you've got like the really deep, dark tones in here, neutrals, but then you've got this gorgeous, this pink shimmer, so pretty. It has like a little bit of a purple tone to it, and it's like real shiny. And then I love that this yellow is like this glowing yellow that's kind of like cat eyes in the dark. So I know not everyone would think of this as a spooky season palette, but I absolutely do. You guys, I need to slow down and take a breath. I'm stumbling over my words like crazy. Okay, also, how could I not include the Gather Round sisters from Colorpop, the Hocus Pocus inspired palette. Now, this was the earlier release, not the next one. Then they did another palette, and I didn't like that one near as much. And I love this one. I think this says Halloween, but like sophisticated colors. And it also says fall, it says moody, it says grunge. I love, forget the fact that it's Hocus Pocus. If it was just a palette on its own and not spooky season related, I would really want it. But the fact that it's, you know, Hocus Pocus makes it all the better. Now, this one's kind of funny because I've got the cover that was this palette. Here it is right here. This is from Wicked Widow Beauty. And then I had to put it in a palette, a magnetic palette, because this kind of fell apart. It was one of those where this was magnetic and laid on top, and it just, the palette kind of fell apart. But it was a cute idea for sure. And here are the shades inside. And this was the last year release for spooky season. And I really liked this. Now she got a lot of kind of negative feedback that there were glitters in there. So these are glitters, but they're not like really chunky, loose fallout type of glitters. They actually performed really well. So I don't always mind that. Like if it looks nice on the eyes, if it stays, if it's not chunky, then I think it can really, especially for spooky season, can be really effective. So I did really like that color story. Okay, next, if you also saw my 3 palettes in each category, I had this in the Cool Tone palette, I believe. Either that or I had it in the Affordable palettes. I can't remember which, but I'm pulling it out again for now because this is probably the like darkest altogether like palette that I have, where it's just, you know, black. This has a glitter, it's like a black matte with like little bits of glitter in it, but you got your dark grays, your silver, this like midnight blue silver that's got like all these different colors, glitter particles in it, this blue. I mean, I just think this is really, really fun to pull out for spooky season, and they're $5 and they perform so well. All right, then I also have the Dark Fantasy palette, which I had in my palette top 3, and I had this one in like my moody dark glam category. So I definitely have to pull it out for spooky season as well. And I said in that video that it's like the Matrix. Like I look at this and I see the Matrix, and I also see that you could do like witchy looks with this. You could do like Frankenstein, you could do vampire. I just think this is definitely appropriate for Halloween time. Then I have my 2 Nomad palettes that were made for spooky season. So we have Haunted Europe, and then we also have Ghost Town USA. So unfortunately, Haunted Europe is no longer available. It makes me so sad because I love this palette. I love this palette so much because I just think it's so all-encompassing with like cool tones, warm tones. It's got really pretty shimmers in it, and it's got like neutrals, pops of color. I just really, really enjoy this one. And I don't think it's just spooky season appropriate. I think this is also like a really good winter palette. And same actually goes for Ghost Town USA. This is more of your moody, grungy, dark, spooky season look with like your metallics, but I also see this come up winter time as well. Then I have my 3 from Gourmand Girls. How could I leave these out? I cannot. So we have Nightshade that a lot of people thought was going to be the spooky season palette, but it was kind of like a precursor to Haunted coming out. And I definitely see this and think like Halloween spooky. I actually did a reel for Instagram that I don't have up yet that was kind of my just creative, like juices were flowing, and it's more like would be like a snippet of like a horror movie when I had this palette on. So follow me on Instagram if you want to see that. But yeah, I just think this is a fun one to pull out. Of course, we have Spooked, which was the first one in the spooky season lineup. This has always been, in my opinion, the perfect fall and spooky season palette. I remember when I did a review of this when it came out, I pointed that out. I was like, half of this is fall. Like I get very caramel apple here, and you know, just like pumpkin-y, and then with these like the purple, pink, green here, red, then you get like, you could do vampire, witch sort of looks with this. And then Haunted, this year's release, I think is that fun kind of like neon meets grunge Halloween vibe. I get more like witchy vibes from this one. And then the last 2 that give me very spooky season feels are from Lunar Beauty, the Moonspell Volume 1 and Volume 2. Now, Volume 1 is like impossible pretty much to get now unless you get it secondhand. But honestly, out of the two, I love this color story more because, I mean, you've got like your grungy greens in here, your purpley pink, you got like some blue. And I just think this one's like overall, just, you could do a whole lot with this. So just if you have it, don't forget to bring it out. And then of course, Lunar Beauty's Moonstable too. Oh, I've still got it in the little book sleeve here. Packaging's super, super cool. And then you've got these fun reds, purples, pinks in here. I do really like this color story too. It's just not one that I wear as often, but you know, it is witchy and vampire-y, and I think this is just, the whole vibe of this is like you pull it out and it puts you in that spirit. All right, you guys, those are my those are my 20 spooky season Halloween vibes palettes in my collection. You guys let me know if you have some of these in yours, or if maybe you might think about picking one of these up now. And as always, have fun shopping, budget shopping. Bye.